Welcome back, everyone, to Going Beyond with James, aka the Captain, and the beautiful lady in red, Tennille. Um, let's just start like we always start. I'm just going to introduce myself and what I do, and I'm turning over to Tennille, and we're going to go from there. So, I am James. I am the Ascension Coach. I help people connect with higher states of consciousness, align with their higher selves, and discover their soul's purpose so that they can live a life of love, joy, fulfillment, purpose, all those good things. And I'll let Tennille introduce herself.
Hey, my name's Tennille. I am co-founder of Moon Made Meditation and a trauma-informed holistic wellness coach. Here at Moon Made Meditation, we help people to reset, reconnect, and reclaim the essence of who they are.
I love it. I love it. So fortunately, at the same time, it's that whole duality thing. But fortunately, maybe unfortunately for both Tennille and I, for those of you who have supported us, who have watched us, even if you're watching us on replay, we are reaching our final destination. And it was really that thought process that I was like, you know what? I'm going to connect with Tennille and said, hey, let's leave people with our best practices. Let's
Mhm.
culminate this experience with things that people can tangibly, which Tennille is amazing at, that we can tangibly use or that they can tangibly use to reach whatever ultimate outcome it is, whether it's fitness, whether it's health, whether it's money, whether it's business, whatever. And so in our final episode, that's what we want to do. We want to leave you with some nice, juicy nuggets that
Mhm.
even if this is the only time you've ever seen us, that this becomes something that you can circle back to time and time again. So having said that, Tina, I don't know if you want to start or I want to start, but I feel like I want to point it in your direction because you're great at giving tangible steps and things like that. But what would you here we go. What would you want to leave people? We're gonna go deeper into this, but what's one thing you would want to leave people with as far as being able to reach their goals, reach their ultimate destination in any area of their life?
Yeah. Well, I think with this one, I've sang about it enough, but it start with self-love, right? Start with caring for you before anything else, before anyone else, before any career. Take care of you. And it doesn't have to be big and fancy. It's really just about, tuning into yourself, being still, right? But ultimately, once you take care of yourself, once you really connect with yourself, once you reset your life, once you reevaluate your priorities, right, and get back to you, a lot of whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish thereafter, the road starts to open up. But I would say definitely the first place you start is with you. Like get back with you. And I know it sounds very like ooh, but that's it.
And I'm gonna I'm gonna put you on the spot. I'm gonna throw you a softball. I'm gonna let you kind of go with there. But what's one of the ways you have shown yourself self love, either recently or in the most prominent way you've done it for yourself that you can think of, over the
Ooh,
course of your whole life?
working out. Like you're singing about self love. Do you self love? Yes, I self love.
I know you do. I want to give the people something that they can. Oh, okay, I can do that.
No, honestly, for myself, it's an odd thing, but it's made a huge difference. And that was trying something that I had done before, but I fell off on, and that's waking up early, right? So I actually do try and wake up at 5, but definitely between 5 and 6:30, I'm awake. And why this is an act of self love is because I'll wake up before the sun has come out. I'll go sit outside. It's still, it's calm. I can reflect. I've been doing this thing with, I'm exploring Bible verses, just trying to get to know, the Bible a bit better. So I'll
Mhm.
do my little flip thing. I'll read a verse of the Bible. I'll sit. I'll reflect. I'll think about, how that may apply to my life. Like it's interesting because it usually doesn't take very long. It's like I'll go
Mhm.
out there and it'll feel like it's a long time, but I'll only be out there for like 5 minutes, right? But it's so quiet. It's so calm. I get to really sit and reflect on how I want my day to go. That's another part too,
Mm,
right?
mhm,
And then you'll find that by the time I come inside, like starting off, getting the day for my daughter, getting things started for her, her breakfast, all that just flows so much easier. And it's this weird thing that I wouldn't have considered it to be a self-love thing, but the way that it
mhm.
has grounded me. I mean, like, and speaking of grounding, I literally will take my shoes off, and well, it's not winter yet. That's going to change. But for now, I'll
Yeah.
literally take my shoes off and like put my feet in the grass, right? While I'm sitting there in this, in the cool early morning air, and it's been so calming. It's been so like I don't just yeah, I feel so connected with myself. So that is it. That is something that I do recommend. I mean, and I'm a person that was not a morning person, but doing this has actually just made my day start off so much better. And so I'm glad that
Yeah.
I've incorporated this into my morning day well routine,
I
shall I
love
say.
that. And I'm gonna give an example of myself as well, but even piggybacking off of what Tanil said, for those who are watching this, at whatever point you're watching this, I just want you to take a moment to contemplate what could you do, whether it's waking up early, as Tanil mentioned, whether it's being out in nature, which is also kind of proponent of what Tanil mentioned, but what could you do, whether it's, and it could be something as simple as, you know what, you want to eat healthy, and so maybe you don't throw everything away, but maybe you start bringing some certain things in.
Hmm.
And then, because some people need to pull the band-aid off, quickly, some people need to pull it off slow. But just, I want you to think about some of the things that you can do to incorporate taking care of you more. For me, it it begins in the morning as well. It's something that I've talked about here. I do through all throughout the day, but it's focusing on what people call the I am. It's really because the truth is when you talk about self love, who's the self, right? Is it, for some people they're more comfortable identifying with the character avatar, with the personality self. For me, I'm more comfortable with the self as the invisible part. So when I'm contemplating self-love, or when I'm thinking about self-love, I'm thinking from two different perspectives. I'm thinking
Hmm.
from my divine self, and then I'm thinking from my divine self, um, loving this character, loving this character avatar, loving this dream that I'm experiencing. And so self love for me primarily though is just going within. Just Tanil mentioned this, I heard her mention this about being still, being
Hmm.
quiet, and taking that next step for me of I'm not the body, I'm not the mind, I'm the one watching all of this taking place.
Hmm.
So whether it's whether you what Tanil said works for you right now, or even what I'm saying works for you right now, or even if there's something else, self love is vitally important. Another big thing for me, and I'll start this section of it, is, and I was talking to a good friend of mine Sunday. I was talking to her
Hmm.
Sunday. She is, she's had certain what she believed to be obstacles in her becoming who she wants to be. And for me, I'm going to talk about self identity, right?
Hmm.
And self identity for me isn't about doing anything, not primarily. It's about who do I want to be? And then stepping into that and trusting
Hmm.
that what's like, it's even looking at it from a quantum level, getting into the energy of being a successful coach or a successful speaker. I
Hmm.
don't have to speak anything. I don't have to coach it. Just that's if I get into that consciousness, is that's who I am.
Hmm.
That vibration of itself is going to draw experiences that match that. Now, intuitively, and I saw you post around this recently about following your intuition. Intuitively, you will take there will be action taken, but it will be intuitive action.
Hmm.
You will know exactly what to do, when to do it, and it will feel so natural that it doesn't even resonate with doing. It's just, it was there, or I saw it, and et cetera, et cetera. But it's really starts with, for me, self identity.
Mhm.
Who do you want to be? And most people operate like this. They have to have the money, then they are rich.
Right.
I'm talking about reverse engineering it. I am rich, getting into that vibration, getting into that frequency, and now the money comes because it can be no other way.
Hmm.
As a matter of fact, and I'll turn this over to Neil in a second, you can really tell by what's showing up in your life how you see yourself, because your life will never lie to you about how you see you. Now, what you do with that is on you. You can either go, this is life circumstance, or this is what this person is doing to me, or this is I don't have no opportunities, I don't have marketing, I don't have sales, and all that kind of thing. But
Hmm.
that experience, first of all, you're just creating more of the same with that mindset. But it has shown up that way because you're in that vibration, you're in that frequency. But if you change that and go, how would a successful person approach this? If I don't have, if my wallet is not filled with $100 bills, um, or if I'm not getting calls for my services, or people, that's your moment.
Hmm.
I always call those are your defining moments. Are you going to go, excuse my language? Well, no, don't, I don't never apologize for anything, but is either, oh shit,
Hmm.
you know, why is this not working? Or, as I remember saying in a live, I don't think it was a live with us. Remember I think it was one of my own things. I was saying, what do you do in those moments? And I say, you dig in even more. You dig in even more. This is who I am. This is just, and I don't like the word test, but for lack of a better word, this is a test to see if you are who you say you are.
Yep.
So I'll let you share another tip um, off of that.
No, I absolutely agree. And it's so funny because I think I was talking about this with Jason to a degree yesterday, right? As you mentioned, when it comes to, let's say we're talking finances, for example, right? People always assume when the money comes, that's when their life will somehow get better, right? Or improve,
Mhm, mhm,
as opposed to living right now, right? And then there'll be things that show up in your reality, right? That, as you
mhm,
said, it's just not the word it's the only word we can think of right now, but that will challenge this idea, because you could be sitting there saying, yeah, I'm abundant, and then bills start coming in and you're like, am I really abundant?
right,
Right.
right, right,
And
right,
how you respond to that will actually demonstrate then how abundant you truly feel, right? And a lot
right,
of people in
right,
those cases will shut down, they'll hide, they'll panic, right? But if you're
mhm,
truly living in your abundance, you face whatever's coming, right? You think, like you said, like,
right,
what if this is my reality right now? How would be the best way to face it? What are the consequences that are happening right now in this reality? Okay, I don't pay this bill. What's going to happen? Cool. Or I can
yeah,
contact people, right? Because at the end of the day, when you're abundant, you know it's coming. It's just a matter of solving your situation. But that's the thing, is we get panicky because we don't really buy in to what we're trying to, who we really want to be. And sometimes people don't realize it, but subconsciously they're married to the struggle. you
yeah,
know
true,
and this, I think, is one of the things that um people struggle with sometimes, right? Particularly, like, for example, affirmations. I know you're saying you're not a huge fan of affirmations. I see the value of
mhm,
affirmations. um
mhm,
However, most people misuse affirmations because they're essentially, for lack of a better word, lying to themselves, right? Because they don't
mhm,
really believe the things that are coming out of their mouth. And our subconscious, our mind knows if we're lying, right? Which means that you've got
yeah,
to get into a state of feeling. And then once you feel, that's when you affirm, because that's what an affirmation is that you're affirming, right? You're not trying to trick yourself into believing, but you're affirming something that you
yeah,
already feel, right? Something that you already know to be true. And so, anyway, so that's ultimately kind of like, yeah, me agreeing with with where you are.
yeah, yeah, and that's a great point. And I'm definitely not I am for doing whatever you have to do
Mhm.
to get to where you need to be. As Tanil mentioned, I have. I'm the ascension coach, and so that moniker is there because it's about constantly growing, constantly evolving, constantly reaching these higher states of consciousness. And so I know, even though I don't affirm, I definitely know the value of affirmations. I don't do it because for me, and this isn't a defense of myself, but this is something for those of you who are watching to consider. I don't need to affirm that the sun is going to come. I don't go, okay, I'm up, the sun's going to come out, the sun's going to come out, the sun's going to come out, the sun's going to come out. All right, James, the sun's going to come out. I don't go, I'm James. I know I'm James. That's who I am. I'm James. It's
Mhm.
no, the
Just
sun
know.
does. Right. I just know.
Mhm.
And so it's, I talk about going from desire
Mhm.
to belief to
Mhm.
knowing,
Mhm.
right? Like, and and I'm gonna do a teaching on this soon because I did the notes on it. But when you desire something, you know, that space between desire and belief, for me, that's where the affirmations come in. Because once you believe it to be true, you don't need to affirm it.
You don't need
For
to
me,
affirm
you
it.
don't need to affirm it. You just it's true. I know Tennille is a woman. I don't need to go Tennille's. I don't need to believe it. That's I see it, right? And so the knowing is when you get to the place where you get to go play. You don't even worry about it. You recognize that it already is. You're just watching the unfoldment of
Yeah.
what already is. So you don't need to. For me, you don't need to affirm the unfolding. You just it's like the package, it's like the
Yeah.
Amazon package. I know it's coming. I don't need to. Oh, it's gonna come. And I just know it's gonna. No, it's. I don't. I can go make breakfast, take care of the kids, and run shop errands. It'll show up at some point.
Yeah.
So that's really. But I am a big proponent of whether I also don't do things like meditate or I do kind of a variation of that. In
Mhm.
that, when I talk about focusing on the I am, for me that's the equivalent of what people may call meditation. But I don't do any kind of traditional. But I'm a big proponent of doing what you have to do because always say we're all going to arrive at the same destination. We're all going to arrive at the same destination eventually. Um, and where we are on that journey, on that path, um, is not right. It's not wrong. It's just where we are, and that it's not better. It's not worse. It's just
Mhm.
where we are on that journey. And just like a tidbit that I would, for those who maybe follow me, I talk about experiencing life as a soul. And as a soul, some of us have come here to experience, some of the souls that have come here to experience this life are advanced souls, meaning they've been here a time or two before. And I know not everybody subscribed to that, but that's just something for my people that get this, that they're even when we come into this earth, and even we see it with children now, like Tennille was great with um, how to navigate being a parent and watching over kids. Even children that are being born now, they have a greater understanding of certain things that we didn't have when we got here. Like what my daughter is learning in school, I gotta open up a book and go, wait. And she's just in the sixth grade. I'm like, all right, sweetie, give me a moment with this one. So, we're all on an ascension journey, essentially.
Yeah.
We're just at different points on that journey.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. I mean, the what you, oh in terms of what I was listening to you about the whole having been here before, right? So
Mhm, mhm,
with the nature of the work that I do with the intuitive guidance, right?
mhm,
That interestingly um, tends to end up confirming for people that concept because I've had
mhm.
people on their timeline journeys, experience previous, I guess,
Yeah.
times that they
Past
were here,
lives.
right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
So it's and it's so funny because it's one of those that whether you believe or not, it's this is an experience that people are having, right?
Very point. Right.
So it's actually
Right.
it's actually fascinating. But that's it's exactly it because our experience that we've come to, yeah, right. Um,
Mhm,
we've built up as we continue to go along a bunch of stuff that we carry, right? Um, and I appreciate your approach, which is just let it go. Let's go forward,
Yeah.
right? And I have seen, that a lot of people have a lot of difficulty letting it go, mainly because they don't know what to let go, right? They're not
Hmm.
even
Hmm.
sure about what it is that they need to let go of. Um, and if anything, that's where, we go into with our stuff. But when it comes to meditation and mindfulness, I think I've always affirmed what you're saying in terms of it doesn't have to be this traditional sitting still and clearing your mind. It's really just about being present, right? That's
Yeah.
all. Even with the self-love thing, that's all that it comes down to, is really being present right here, right now, and reminding yourself, right? And also there's that self-compassion aspect, because
Hmm.
sometimes when we're on a journey, whether it's a journey to move forward, there'll be slipbacks, and then we're down on ourselves for that, right? And then that doesn't
Hmm.
do anything other than like uh, exacerbate the issue, right? It's allowing yourself the grace to realize that, okay, a slipback will happen here and there, but it's okay, right here, right now, right? Always
Yeah.
bringing yourself back to the present, and that can make such a huge difference, because even with all I say and everything, all I do, my mind goes on its little journeys every so often, right?
Hmm.
Where, I won't even realize it sometimes, because again, I'm not being present. And then suddenly I'll catch it. I'm like, wait a minute, why is my mind there again? And then bring myself back to here. And it's like the moment that you make that intentional step to bring yourself back, right, to right now, it seems to
Hmm.
just ease away. And the more that you practice this, because it's intentional and it's a practice, right? And I think that's
Yeah.
what some of the things that happen with people is they get disheartened with these processes, because they sound so simple, right? So
Hmm.
therefore it
Hmm.
must be easy to do it. And then once you find yourself falling back, or then it's like, oh, I can't do it, and they give up. But it's like, no, don't give up, right? Like, don't
Yeah.
give up. Just allow yourself that compassion and try again, right? And I'll tell you, the
Yeah.
more that you practice it, the easier it is to just be, right? At first, it may feel difficult, because you are fighting against, habits that you've gained, based on however old you are in life, and,
Right.
there's a little bit of unlearning that has to happen, and that's okay, that process. But the truth is, it just gets easier as long as you persist with the practice, and it gets easier quite fast. It's actually quite, like, the progress, once you actually start recognizing this, is it's not like this long, tedious process. It's going to take forever. It gets faster
Hmm.
and quicker for you to grasp concepts, for you to bring yourself back to the present, for you to catch yourself when you're reacting to a present experience with the past mindset. The
Yeah.
more that you bring yourself back to here, and that really is the key thing. And I think part of the reason why I even started the practice the way that I did, even the way that I wrote my parenting book and all that kind of stuff, is that nothing that I'm saying, nothing that you're saying is really necessarily new, right? These are concepts
Hmm.
and philosophies that have existed since forever. There have been a million books written on the topic, right? And a lot of the books are great. You read them and you're like, "Ooh, that sounds okay," but then they lack the practical application. So now you have to try and
Hmm.
figure out how to apply this for yourself, right? Because they make it sound so easy, but in practice, it's not so easy right away, right? So that's where having a coach, someone that can, reassure you along the way that it's okay, you're
Right.
you're not
Right.
doing it wrong, right? Give you that kind of like support that you may have difficulty giving yourself at first.
Yeah. And I think even to know that the judgment of something being easy or hard, first of all, is an ego interpretation.
Mhm.
But even the judgment of that, to some degree, speaks about a lack of knowledge, if you may. What I mean by that is this: if I recognize that these kind of, first of all, recognize a few things, that the journey isn't linear, which we've talked about here, that it's an oscillating journey, that it's something where, oh, I'm going to have these moments. Because this is how it's worked for me. Oh, I'm going to have these moments where, with all the greatness that I've seen, now I'm seeing something that doesn't look like that. Oh, this is just normal, et cetera, et cetera. That gives me a sense of comfort, actually.
Yeah.
It's also recognizing that certain things are, whether it's a mental imprint that shows up, that certain thoughts are going to arise oh, but that's just the indication that they've shown up for to be released,
Hmm.
right? So it's, I think even our judgment of what we experience as good or bad, right or wrong, is part of the trap. But when I recognize, oh, this is what's supposed to happen. This is what's supposed to happen. You know,
Hmm.
doesn't mean that I'm welcoming it. Well, it is a sense of accepting it, but it allows me to accept it a little bit easier when I go, oh, this shot that I had is supposed to hurt, but it's
Yeah.
going to make me feel, it's going to make me feel better. Like it doesn't mean that I've regressed. It's just like Tennille goes through this, James goes through this, even those that they may consider, even more knowledgeable, they go through this. It
Hmm.
makes it a bit easier. Well, there's that word easy, but it makes it more
Yeah.
uh, e- easier to accept. It's more accepting when you know that space that it's coming up to be released. And I definitely want people to get this because I've had people, I'm sure you've had people as well, talk about when they've done like a traditional meditation or however they may do meditation, that I was trying to meditate, but just my mind was so busy. That's a great thing. That
Hmm.
means that stuff is now coming up to the surface for you to let go. Just as Tanil said, stay with it. Stay with it.
Hmm.
Welcome more stuff that may come up so you can release that as well. And this is where I think Tanil is really amazing at when when that stuff comes up and you see it. Um, Tanil talks about celebrating moments like that. And there was something else. I feel like you can go so much further into this than I can right now. But when those moments come up, maybe talk a little bit more about the best way to approach those moments, even if whether the person who's viewing this, even if you want to label it as hard or challenging, whatever. You talk about celebration, but I feel like you can go so much further than that with this. To me.
Well, in the in the process of things coming up in your mind, right? Usually, when something persists, when something keeps coming up, that means that your subconscious is trying to tell you something, right? And again, we remove that judgment and we approach it with curiosity, right? What am I like? What is there for me to learn, know from what this thing that keeps coming up, right? Allow yourself the space to be curious again, not judgmental, because sometimes you get frustrated, especially if it's something that you thought you were over. That's a big one. A lot of people are like, oh, I thought I was over this, why does this keep bothering me? Well, clearly somewhere deep down inside there's an aspect of this thing that you're still holding on to and that you do need to release and you do need to let go. So instead of judging yourself or putting yourself down for the fact that you haven't let it go yet, be curious and consider, why might you still be holding on to this? Because that curiosity will actually open up the space for you to truly let it go, right? Instead of just avoiding it, instead of just running away from it, you actually get to truly let it go if you're curious without judgment about whatever's coming up, right? And as I said, that's, I think, one of the things that I aim to do is really um, kind of switch the narrative in regards to meditation, because I do think the way that people view meditation is what makes them hesitant to try it, right? Um, it's while the aim is to be able to let things go, it's not
Mhm.
so that you have an empty mind. It's so that whatever comes to your mind is no longer affecting you in a negative way. So it gets very uncomfortable. I mean, listen, I always say this myself, is that I thought I couldn't meditate and now I have a company,
Mhm.
right?
Wow, there you go.
Because I
There you go.
have a busy mind, right? And it was uncomfortable. It was uncomfortable trying to do traditional meditation, right? Because it's like, literally, I feel like I want to scream, like, just stop, just stop. Like my mind is just not stopping until I stopped resisting, right? And allowed it. And I was like, okay, at first it was just, and however you handle these thoughts, that's also okay. Whether it's with a little bit of humor, oh, okay, I'm not dealing with you right now,
Mhm.
however it is for
Mhm.
yourself, but just allow yourself to not resist, because it's that resisting it, right? That wanting to run away from it that makes it keep popping up, because it hasn't been dealt with, because it hasn't been addressed, because it hasn't been let go. right? So that's, and I think that's a key part with it is a lot of us in so many ways. I mean, even when we go back to my trauma informed aspect, we view letting go as repression, right?
Hmm.
Or
Hmm.
avoid. That's not the same. Letting go requires you to face it, right? To face it, to accept it, and to make peace with it. Let it go, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's ultimately, it's, when you take away the judgment out of how you perceive the thoughts, and that's when you're talking about that I am and the who's thinking of the what, right? A
Yeah.
lot of the
Yeah.
time it's the judgments that we're putting on these thoughts, and a lot of the time it's not only on the thoughts, it's on ourselves for having these thoughts. So it becomes this unhealthy, unnecessary cycle, right? As opposed to just being curious about why are they coming up, right?
Yeah.
And then we can deal with
Yeah.
it.
And you know what? And I'm gonna compliment, and Tanil and I've talked about complimenting each other. I'm gonna give another view of this as well. Especially again for those who follow me, this is how I conversate. That from the I amness, from the place of soul. Um, and this is in line, I'm sure, with what Tanil talks about as well, self awareness. If you can be aware that you're not your thoughts, you're not your body, you're not your feelings, and create some level of detachment, meaning I'm just the one who's observing this.
Mhm.
That can begin that process as well. I know Tanil talks about, and rightfully so, and definitely if this is where you're at, definitely follow down that path. What is this representing for me? She even had a conversation with me about I think I hurt my knee or thigh or something. Um, so it's a very valid point and very valid direction to go in. At the same time, another view is being able to know that, wait, this is just because I talk about the dream experience. This is just something that myself, greater self, is witnessing, is that it really has nothing to do with I or I am, in the sense that I can never experience lack. I, talking about the external I or the eternal I can never suffer. I can never be anything other than vibrant life, wholeness, abundance, bliss. And so even if you use that moment as exploration,
Mhm.
like, okay, if I'm abundance and I am vibrant life and I am wholeness, then yes, kind of like what, yeah, this is how maybe I marry what Tanil talks about. How can I, or where does this pain come from?
Came from.
Right? So yeah, I can use that to marry the two thought processes of beginning to question from there, but it's questioning from the truth of who you are and not misidentifying yourself as a separate self, as a personality self, and this is what I'm going through. Well, that's for me. What I talk about is this is not you. This is the vehicle. This is the instrument. This is the tool that your greater self uses
Mhm.
to navigate this 3D reality, this dream experience. But it's not the truth of who you are. So it's really about, and what I deal with my people to know is I'm always like, who are you?
Mhm.
Are you misidentifying yourself as the car
Mhm.
or the one who's driving the car?
Mhm.
Because if you get into a fender bender, you don't hop out of your car and then address the vehicle. You don't
Right.
go, well, you should no, you're talking to the person that was driving, can I get your license? No, you're not talking to the car. You're talking to the person driving the car. But most of our experiences in this reality, we're addressing the car. And the car is just like, I'm not driving. I'm the but so it's who are you, the vehicle or the one driving the vehicle? And if you identify yourself as the vehicle, then yeah, you're gonna follow along with the stories and all of that that's attached to that.
Yeah.
But even if it's just exploring, or as Tanil talked about, asking questions, um, but it's for me, it's definitely how are you identifying yourself?
Mhm.
So that's a component of self awareness, of what self awareness represents for me. But
Yeah.
self-awareness is a very big key of even going beyond.
Yes.
Going beyond is taking that moment. Again, we talk about being still, we talk about being quiet and observing, just being aware of this body, just being aware. And I do that throughout the day. Not only do I do that, but I've been doing something recently that just fascinates me because I've been some of the people that I've been interviewing and talking with, and even some of my own stuff that's been coming up has been, I know that I'm a soul, right? I know I'm a soul, but now I see the soul of others. Like I'm in that space where, oh, this isn't Tennille. Tennille is just the vehicle. There is a greater, more infinite, um, even more beautiful presence that is animating that body that's called Tennille, that's animating that person who just asked me for $2 on the corner, who's animating that person who I see is in a wheelchair. That's a soul who came here. I'm going a little bit, maybe I'm going a little bit too more into my stuff, but that's a soul who, before they even came into this dream experience, said, I want to have, or I'm going to agree to this experience
Mm-hmm.
so that my soul can further evolve and further expand as a result of me navigating the appearance of not enough or me
Mm-hmm.
navigating sickness. Even though I can never be sick because I'm soul, this experience is going to help me further evolve and further advance as a soul.
Yeah.
And so now, Tino, as I'm looking at people, I'm like, that's a soul who agreed to this experience so that they could further evolve as a soul. And so now when I see people who look as if they are in less fortunate situations, I go, this person really signed up for an incredible experience, and their soul experience is going to be so much powerful because they chose an appearance of sickness, because they chose not having enough money, because they chose heartbreak, because they chose losing, like they chose this experience so that, and it's like the people who think that they have it easy, and this is what the Master Jesus would always try to get us to understand: the first shall be last, and the last shall be first. Those of you who you think got it all together, they do appear to do, but on a soul level, they may not have that many lessons to learn, or they may not, evolve to the extent that someone who is facing what we judge as true hardship
Yeah.
will have to, yeah. So that's I try to keep that part out of this, out of what we talk about. I just felt like I was led into that to talk about that piece of,
Yeah.
yeah, we are souls who are constantly evolving and expanding based on how we're navigating this character avatar and his or her 3D dream experience.
Well, it's
So
interesting. I don't know if you do remember the article of mine that you read that brought
yeah,
you
yeah,
to right. That's where
yeah.
I touched on collective consciousness and quantum entanglement, just based off of the experience that I had when I did the root cause therapy session, right?
Hmm.
Where I
Hmm.
had tapped into the emotions of my great grandmother, right? And I was
Yeah.
fascinated by this because I was like, how is this even possible? But then, ultimately, it just reinforces these ideas of the interconnectedness of everything and everyone.
Hmm. Yeah.
And to a degree, the timelessness of everything and everyone as it stands as well. The fact that I was able to, and again, I've done sessions since then, and I've tapped into other emotions. Those of my mother's when I was in the womb. Like it's
Hmm.
quite fascinating because for messaging to come through so clear, and it's coming from
Hmm.
what is deemed to be our unconscious, but that could very well be the soul essence that you speak of, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Because the
Yeah.
memory that it holds is memory beyond our own personal memories. And I've witnessed this
Mhm.
not only, like I said, my own journeys when I've done these sessions, but when I've worked with clients, the stuff that's come up
Mhm.
for them. I've had clients have situations where they tapped into ancestral memories from slave ships. That was one of my
Mhm.
clients did that. I've had many clients tap into womb memories, and they're things that we wouldn't consciously, you know, remember, like we couldn't consciously remember.
Yeah.
But that's telling us that there's something more infinite within us, right? So while some may view, maybe some of these things seeming to be out there, there's a
Hmm.
lot more confirmation of it. And I love my science, BSc. I do love my science.
Hmm.
However, I
Hmm.
very well recognize that there are limits to what science can experience, and that doesn't invalidate the experiences that people have, right? Or the possibilities
Sure.
that exist, right? Collective consciousness, there definitely seems to be more and more validation that this is a thing, right? Quantum
Mhm.
entanglement, this is a thing. Right. So all
Yeah.
these experiences, even that you speak of within your ascension coaching and ascension journey, these are things that maybe don't have set ways of explaining, but it's like the scientific method couldn't possibly explain them because the variables are too broad, right? So there's no
Mhm.
way to create um, a, a structured way of determining this stuff, but that doesn't invalidate it, right? And
Yeah.
that's one of the key things when it comes to my practice with the lunar aligned aspect too, right? It's the same thing. Lunar alignment is something that people across the world for cultures and centuries have used, but could science validate it? Not likely or not easy. But that doesn't make it
Right.
invalid, because clearly it's not invalid when cultures around the world, all parts of the
Hmm.
world, traditional cultures have relied on lunar alignment specifically as it relates to healing, right? So these are the
Yeah.
things that I know sometimes when we're dealing in these realms, and I know I do it myself, right? You kind of there's that I guess you can talk to it like how you speak of the ego aspect. There's that part of us that's
Mhm.
just like, are we going to be taken seriously? You know what I mean? Like, are the things we're saying a little bit too much for people to grasp? And you know what? If they're not, if they
Yeah.
are, oh well, right? Because those
Yeah.
who need the message will get the message, right?
Yeah.
Um, I love science, but I also recognize its limits, right?
Yeah.
And I cannot invalidate the spiritual consciousness experiences that people have been having. I shouldn't say that they're currently having. No, they've been having these long
Good to have
before
it.
we were able to put these
Yeah.
things on paper, right? So it's
Yeah.
exciting.
Yeah.
It's exciting, and I'm glad that there are at least some that are curious enough to be able to jump in right away. But I also understand the limits that we have based on our conditioning and our programming that most of us have experienced up until this point, right? But
Yeah.
yeah, this is why we
Good
connected.
stuff.
Collective consciousness.
This is
It's
what I
it's
was gonna-
fascinating, but it is
That's it.
definitely a thing, right?
Yeah.
We
You,
are.
you definitely brought us.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, no, no. Continue.
No, I was saying you definitely brought us full circle with that article for sure. That was again my motivation for Tennille wrote this amazing article. What's the name of it again?
That one was my to do with my intuitive guidance. I forget off the top of the head, but it had to do with collective consciousness and entanglement.
Yeah, for those who if you're not connected to Tennille, just connect with Tennille. It's on her LinkedIn page. That's just wanted to give people an opportunity to be directed to her. But just connect with Tennille, find it
It's
on her
actually on
page.
my.
Matter of fact, I
It's
think
actually
there's
a
even
blog that I had shared. It's a blog on my website. But it was about my first
oh
experience
okay.
with intuitive guidance. Yeah,
And the website is Moon Maiden Meditation, right?
meditation.com. Yeah.
.com. Yeah. So go to the website, check out that article. But yeah, like it definitely resonated with me enough for me to reach out to her and after chatting with her, I said, hey, let's create something together. And that's why we got here. So it's interesting that you brought us full circle. Before we break, is there any tool, process, insight that you can think of, and I'm trying to think of as well, that we may have missed that could help people on their journey reaching their ultimate destination? Um, we talked about not judging your experiences. We talked about meditation some. We talked about being still. Talked about recognizing who you are as a soul. We talked about self identity. Um, is there anything that we missed? Otherwise,
Oh, well, of course, journaling, right? That's part of the process too.
Journaling and Tanil, definitely tell us about what you're doing in that area as well. But journaling is a big one. Journaling, and before I let Tanil go into what she offers in that area, journaling has been tremendous for me. Really, when I talk about my own, you know, how YouTube has been very, very gracious to me. It was when I got on YouTube, it was really for the purpose of taking my journal and going from every single step that I went through over what's almost 2 years now to become this version of me. Like from when I was in deep pain and not wanting to take my life, and okay, this is the first thing I'm going to do, and then just like that was my purpose on getting on YouTube. I wanted to help the next James, give him a blueprint or her a blueprint of how to go from that space to being in this space. um, my community is leading me in a whole different direction, but um, journaling was so transformative for me. And now I'll let Tanil expound on that and talk about what she offers in that area.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, journaling is key for to include as part of the process, and a lot of people over complicate things, much like they do with meditation. And I think this is why I created the tools and the things that I have. You see, honestly, when it
Yeah.
comes to the purpose of my business, it's really for people to get proactive about their mental wellness by doing things that they can easily incorporate into their lives. Being mindful is something you can easily incorporate. Journaling is something that you can easily incorporate. So I have journals, free self-love journal available on my website every single month. It's updated. Lunar alignment is the core of my offerings. The reason why is intentionality, right? There is an aspect of when you start on your journey in whatever it is, whether it's personal development, professional development, that you have to be intentional. Lunar alignment brings that intentionality like right down to the specific energies of the day, right? Based on the lunar
Yeah.
cycle. So every single month, our journals are updated with the new lunar cycle, right? And because a lot of people don't know where to start when it comes to journaling, our journals include journaling prompts every day, right? We do our affirmations as well and intentional practices. I start with the self love. That one's available for free every month because, as I've said, self love is the basis, right? And that's what I truly believe. I want to help people start their journeys, right? And I know that often cost is a factor. There's many things that you think I can't go there because this is a luxury. Self love shouldn't have to be a luxury, right? This is something that you can start. That basis, getting in touch with yourself. So our self-love journal is available on the website every single month. And then we also have goal-specific journals. And these are based on the most common goals that their clients come to for coaching, right? So we've got abundance, romantic love, conscious parenting. Those ones are paid journals, but they're same thing. Each day is specific to the energies of the day. But journaling is important because it helps you get out of your mind, right? So we want to clear those thoughts, right? Another way that you can help that is actually just putting down your thoughts, right? Whether that's to try and understand how you feel about stuff, to try to understand how you think about stuff, right? It's putting that distance as you're
Mhm.
talking about between the I am and your
Mhm.
perception of yourself. Journaling allows you to put that distance and really get to understand you, right? Meditation, mindfulness keeps you still. Journaling helps you to start to and the thing is, it does work. So for myself, the reason I went there is I think I've told my story of my journaling. I journaled as a child. It got me through a tough time. I had a very traumatic childhood, and back then we called it a diary, but I had a diary all through my childhood.
Yeah.
um, and like literally into my late teens, early adulthood. And then again, then you become an adult, and suddenly diaries of a baby, so you stop. But what I would notice is anytime that things got hard, sure enough, I'd go pick up a pretty journal and I'd start writing it. And then that would help me kind of clear my mind and I'll be okay again and I'd forget about the journal. And so I still do have scattered journals all over my house, right? But what I noticed though, one day when I was doing a tidy up, was that I was having repeated issues, as in the same concerns kept showing up in my life. right? By not staying consistent with my journaling, I didn't even notice the pattern until I had them sitting before me. And now I'm looking at them, I'm like, oh my gosh, no, I keep having the same thing happening in my life. So being consistent with journaling, and it doesn't have to take long, right? My journals are digital. They're digital, they're fillable. You can fill them online. So we all text on our phone all the time. You can text, right? Plus, you can also voice to text. So if you're one that prefers to speak your thoughts like I do, you can just speak your thoughts. But ultimately, it also allows you a place that you can go back easily and then review, right? Have a look at your journey, because it actually makes a difference to being able to look back and see, right? Because when I recognize that, I'm like, okay, I got to figure out a better way to do this, because I can't keep making the same, like I can't keep doing the same thing. And also not recognizing that I'm doing it. And that's at autopilot. We spoke about in one of our previous things, right? This is what happens when we're not living intentionally, right? We repeat patterns and we repeat patterns without recognizing it, right? So, yeah, so that's why the journaling. So yeah, self-love, free every month. Other topics to explore if you have specific goals that you wanna accomplish. But yes, journaling. And worst case scenario, get yourself a journal in a dollar store and start writing down your thoughts. Right?
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
being still and really, really getting in touch with yourself. Right? Those are the two biggest things that I can say. And once you get there, then
Yeah.
community comes.
Absolutely. And shout out to, speaking of community, shout out to Mike Asher who popped on.
Hey,
To
Mike.
know as we close, yeah, as we close out, and obviously we close out our final installment of Going Beyond. And for people who still want to see your lovely face, what do you have going on that people can still catch you?
Well, on Mondays for now, I'm on so Jason with the circle of friends has a
Mhm.
podcast, live podcast every Monday. So for me, I'm on his show every Monday at 11:30, and we talk about various things. So that's holistic paths to wellness. Where
11:30. What time?
eleven thirty,
What
oh,
time?
Eastern Standard Time.
Okay.
Eleven
Yep.
thirty
Yep.
30 Eastern Standard Time. Again, live on LinkedIn, but that's live. He also does post it onto his YouTube as well. So
Mhm.
that's cool. That's the Circle of Friends Club. And the podcast is Circle Back to You. So my particular segment is the holistic paths to wellness. So that's every Monday for now. And I should be on April's audio room next week, Thursday.
Cool. Okay.
Um, so yeah, I'm excited about that. I'm just doing some
Yeah.
breathwork techniques. But I mean, I'm sure that I'm going to be doing lots of collaborations with people in the community, possibly starting my own show, but that's nothing set in stone just yet.
Yeah, because that's what I was going to say. I was like,
Good
this
stuff.
is all just leading up to when we finally see Tennille on her own and her amazing self. But I definitely know the roadmap of connecting with amazing people, building your voice, learning certain things along the way until you're ready to step out there. But that's what I'm looking for, my friend. Um,
Thank you. I mean,
so
as I
yeah,
said, listen, you got the ball rolling for me in like a huge way. So honestly, thank you.
I appreciate
You know, it's a good thing
I
that you can
appreciate
read and you liked my story.
it. Those are two important things: being able to read and like it. So for myself, for those who follow me on LinkedIn, I have not been as active. I did try to go into an audio live. I think it was Sunday, which is a day I never do anything related to business, but I kept getting kicked out. I mentioned that to Mike. I kept getting kicked out to audio live. But you're mostly going to find me these days on uh, YouTube as the Ascension Coach and on TikTok every now and then, probably maybe 4 or 5 times a week, um, at the Ascension Coach underscore 1111. So if you want to continue to follow me until I'm back active as I was on LinkedIn, definitely come to YouTube. We're going to deep dive. I've already had people tell me, Tennille, that I'm sending people to hell, that, oh, this is a bunch of crap.
Oh, that's fun. Oh my
Yeah, oh
gosh.
my God.
Are you doing TikTok lives?
Huh?
Are you doing TikTok lives yet? I said, are you doing
No,
TikTok
no, I
live?
haven't. Yeah, I haven't. Yeah, no, I haven't done it yet. But I even thought about doing it this Friday. Like that's on the radar as well. I'm trying to manage my time But I've been thinking about that every week. I'm probably every other day I'm thinking about that. And I even thought Friday, what does my Friday look like? Because I eventually want to do it. But the thing is, I know this is kind of a private conversation with Tennille and I that
Oh
you
yeah,
all are
yeah, yeah.
engaging, but it's still fine. I'm trying to get it where I can do the YouTube live, maybe have something set here and then the TikTok live at the same time. So I'm just trying to navigate
Oh, figure
that.
out how to do all that. Yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
And
yeah.
once you learn, you
So
can teach me. I mean, listen,
yeah,
I again, you got me putting my face on the thing. I was trying to do faceless for a long time, but
you can't. You know, I always applaud how amazing you look. You can't hide that face. But yeah, but you know, I got you. You know, I got you. I'm just a phone call, WhatsApp away. So having said that, we definitely just being serious for a moment. We definitely appreciate everyone who's ever supported us, whether you hopped on for a minute, a second, the whole session. You have helped grow Tennille and I up, and to some extent, you've watched Tennille and I continue to grow, and we greatly appreciate you. Um, Tennille, I don't know if you want to have any closing words for them, but other than what Tennille may or may not say, I'll just say I love you and I appreciate all of you. And Tennille, you want to add anything?
yeah, no, everything. I think James, you did say it. Again, a big thank you to you for opening up this opportunity for me and for introducing me to such wonderful people that we've come across through this journey. It's been fun. We've had lots of
Yeah,
interesting conversations, so I've definitely enjoyed it. But
absolutely.
yes, and thank you to everyone that supported us as well. We've had some wonderful people showing up and booking us, so it's been great. But thank you.
Absolutely. So as I always say, I love and I appreciate you, and both Tennille and I say goodbye for now.
Bye.